Greetings. Welcome to In Conversation with Trevor, brought to you by Heart and Soul Broadcasting Services. I go beyond the headlines and beyond the sensational. Today I'm in conversation with Nicola Kagoro, otherwise known as Chef Cola. If you enjoy this conversation, please remember to subscribe, to like, and to share. Let's get down to some work. Chef Cola, welcome to In Conversation with Trevor.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here.
I'm so delighted to have you here. I've been watching you on social media, and to have the opportunity to sit with you and to hear your story, absolutely amazing. Before we start, though, let me share with our viewers our stats on social media, which are growing. We're currently sitting on 9.1 million views on YouTube alone, and 61.2 thousand subscribers on YouTube. Our community is growing, so please go and press that subscribe button, press the notification button, subscribe, and share as much as possible, and join our amazing community of viewers. So, Chef Nicola, I gather you've been at Great Zimbabwe. What's been happening there?
I was in Great Zimbabwe doing a food tour. So there's a young gentleman who comes from Sweden who invited me out to tour the whole of Great Zimbabwe, especially in the rural community. So we were going to schools, going to churches, going to hotels, Airbnbs, and just teaching people how to cook affordable, tasty vegan food on a budget. And when I say on a budget, it's not something cheap. It's what you can afford, whatever value of money that you want to use on any recipe, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, which kind of meals were you teaching people in the Airbnbs all around Great Zimbabwe?
So I was teaching them meals that they already have in their hotels, kind of like giving them some more flavor, and then also introducing them to new meals. And then one thing that I enjoy doing is using the local indigenous ingredients that they have in their local community. So, for example, there's a lot of avocados and fruits in those areas. So working with those type of ingredients, what they have. So it's not a surprise to them. Yeah.
Wow. So you're using ingredients that are available within the local communities to make them tasteful, as it were.
Exactly.
And how did this Swedish young person find you?
Good question. So he found me because of Forbes Botswana. I was invited by Forbes to speak, and he was just interested that, okay, one, you're speaking on Forbes and you're a vegan chef, and two, you're actually the first person that Forbes has invited to do a live cooking demo. So he signed up for my cooking class, and he was quite impressed with what I do, and that's how I got the job.
The cooking class, was that virtual? Was that physical with him?
No, the cooking class was a part of the Forbes Summit. And after I did my talk, the first 60 to 100 people who signed on basically were allowed to come, and I held a private cooking class for Forbes. So he was one of the first people to sign up, and the rest is history.
Wow. Where was this Forbes gathering?
It was in Botswana this year.
Okay.
So it was about...
Talk to me about it. What was it all about?
Forbes gathering. So let me go back. So my relationship with Forbes started when I was 31. So Forbes has this 30 under 30 list. And unfortunately, I was 31 at the time, and I wasn't able to get onto the list. So what they did was that they gave me a 2 to 3 page spread in that magazine issue at the time. And then I thought that was just that. And I didn't realize that Forbes was watching me over the years. So fast forward about 3 years, they invited me to become a speaker on the Forbes Summit. And one of the highlights was showcasing African vegan on a budget, how to run a business in Africa that's sustainable, and also using things such as social media to build your brand. So that's how the relationships with Forbes Africa started.
Has it been a profitable relationship with Forbes Africa?
It's been profitable in the sense that one, networking. I've gained a lot of good connections. Two, learning a lot from the other people who come and visit the summits. And being inspired to grow my business a little bit better because I realized how minimal my business was compared to someone like Nick Cannon, who's a multi-business millionaire. And he was explaining how he became a millionaire for the first time at the age of 21 and just being a serial entrepreneur. So it was very beneficial in the sense that I took away lessons that I'm going to carry on throughout my journey. Yeah.
The question that I have in my mind is, why vegan?
Why vegan? Honestly, it fell into my laps. It was God's grace. So I studied hospitality in Cape Town, and it was a 3-year program. And I always knew that hospitality management.
Is that you studied? Was it in 2011?
2011.
The culinary arts and what do you call it? Yeah.
So first, okay, let's go back.
Let's go back. Yes.
In 2011, I attended this culinary academy called Capsicum. And at that time, Capsicum wasn't officially registered as a school that could take international students. So I had to leave South Africa and then come back and register to a school that has a license that would allow me to get a student visa. So I went to the International Hotel School. And at that time, being a chef wasn't something that was really popular. It was, you're going to go study to be a cook. We don't want to cook. You go study hotel management. That was my mom. So I went into hotel management for 3 years. And one of the conditions for me to graduate was that I needed to find my own job for the last 6 months of my course in any hotel, in any department in a hotel. A kitchen happens to be a department in a hotel. So I got a job at this place called Plant. And Plant was, at that time, a small cafe.
Is it in Cape Town?
In Cape Town. Yeah. At that time was a small cafe. And when I applied to for the interview, I had no idea what veganism was. And I just walked in and they said, okay, make us a dish. I created the most horrible dish I've probably ever cooked in my life. And they just liked my personality and they're like, we're going to give you a shot. So at that time, Plant was a cafe and the lady was going towards it becoming a restaurant. And it was South Africa's top lead in traditional vegan restaurants. So when she trained me for about 8 months, I then became the executive chef for Plant for about 5 years. So I spent, after graduation...
I must stop you and we go to, I love failures and how we pick ourselves from that. So you fail in your first attempt to cook a vegan meal. Talk to me about what that did to you. What was the experience like? Were you in tears?
Well... They were very friendly about it. Like, you know, when your child makes you like a very horrible Mother's Day breakfast and you still have to like eat it and be like, this is yummy. That was their reaction. But then they saw potential because I had culinary experience. So they knew that I had potential. But
so the way they reacted to your failure
was actually positive. Like, I like to say fail forward. So they allowed me to fail forward and they started training me. So at first I would get in there. Obviously I wasn't the head chef from the beginning. So at first they'll be like, okay, why don't you wash dishes, clean, and just study the kitchen. And the reason why we're doing this so that you know where everything goes and stays, which is very important. And while I was doing that, I like to steal with my eyes. So I'll be watching the chef cook this, do this when an order came in. And they realized that I actually have this urge to want to learn and actually be in the forefront. And they started teaching me how to become a vegan chef. And by the time we moved from becoming a cafe to a restaurant, I was already equipped to become the head chef. And the reason why I got that job as the head chef, once again, God's grace, the lady who was training me, she actually had to go to China to do an undercover documentary about a dog meat festival that the Chinese do. And she actually ended up just staying there. And she told the owner, like, no, I believe that Chef Cola can actually be the head chef and let's give her a shot. And that's how I got that. It literally fell into my laps.
Again.
Again.
Cooking vegan meals falls in your lap and you take it on.
Mm-hmm.
Are you now enjoying it? Have you fully embraced it? Are you a vegan yourself?
So when I did the stint for 5 years, I came back to Zim, and I realized that I want to continue cooking vegan food because it's actually something that I enjoy. And there's multiple reasons why I do it. So that's when I started African Vegan on a Budget. And it is something that I enjoy and I'm continuing to do.
What do you enjoy about cooking vegan meals?
A lot of people think that it's for the love of animals. But yes, a love of animals. But then I love cooking vegan meals because one, we actually are not eating meat every single day in our diet. So I like to challenge myself, showing people that we can actually have nutritional meals and diets that are not consumed with meat, and meat doesn't equal wealth. And then also seeing that when I started in 2011, veganism was considered something to be more of like a white people thing, and more of if you don't have money, if you have money, then you go on a vegan diet. So challenging people that no, now veganism is for everyone and it's more for health reasons, especially for people of color, showing us that this is actually a healthier lifestyle. Yeah.
Fantastic. We're going to take a break there. So at home, please don't go away. When we come back, we're going to go to a very interesting part of your life, 2018 to 2021, where you join Akashinga Rangers. Yes. But also, you went to New York at 3 years old. You came back at 18, thereabouts. I want us to go to that very interesting part of your life. So at home, please don't go away. Join us after this short break.
I am in collaboration with Amazon Prime TV, and I'm going to be collaborating with Gordon and Tilly Ramsey to do a few episodes on basically veganism.
Welcome back to our conversation with Nicola Kagoro, otherwise known as Chef Cola. So we've got a world exclusive, hey? Shall we share with the world what the world exclusive is? This good stuff that's happened to you.
The good stuff. Okay, so I am in collaboration with Amazon Prime TV, and I'm going to be collaborating with Gordon and Tilly Ramsey to do a few episodes on basically veganism. So this is something that's kind of like a 360 for me, because my journey with TV started off on ZBC with a show called Battle of the Chefs. And with that show, it was literally the executive producer looked for 250 people to apply, professional and non-professional chefs. And then out of the 250 people, 15 were chosen to actually feature on TV. And then out of those 15 people, I came out of the season number 9 for season 3. I'd like to say I didn't win the season, but I won the season because Battle of the Chefs is one of the platforms that actually propelled me to become a celebrity chef and an influencer. So now we have Gordon Ramsay. So it's crazy.
When is the Gordon Ramsay Amazon Prime
the feature
gig starting?
2025. So you officially have the exclusive.
Wow.
Yes.
Talk to me about what that means to you.
Man, it was unbelievable. It's something that it still feels like a dream, because it's when you're a chef, one of the things that you always hear is like Gordon Ramsay, Oliver James, or all of these great, Jamie Oliver, all of these great chefs. And to now have them look at you and actually want to work with your recipes that are vegan and African inspired is a blessing and it's an honor. I still actually can't believe it. I'm still pinching myself, and it just shows me that something bigger is yet to come. What I would love to see is for us to have our own Zimbabwean inspired show on such a platform that's vegan. Yes.
And how did Gordon Ramsay find Gordon Ramsay in Amazon Prime? How did they find you?
Well, just like a with most of the things that have happened to me in life, I've been headhunted. So they literally reached out to me last year. Around October, I got an email, and I actually thought that this is too good to be true. And they kept on insisting. So we set up a Zoom meeting, and I was just like, oh, wow, this is actually reality. So this has been in the making for about 8 months. And they're like, okay, we see you. We've interviewed you. We liked your style. And we'll get back to you because this is a global casting. So I was chosen from chefs around the world who produced amazing recipes and amazing things, and God's grace, honestly.
Wow. My heart.
Yes.
My heart is pumping and jumping around. That's good stuff, isn't it?
It is.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Raising the Zim flag high.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Keep flying the Zim flag. Which takes me to, you had 3 seasons with RNTV on DSTV.
Yes.
So now I am a vegan with Chef Cola. Talk to me about that.
I have to give a massive shout out to Sokostina. It was Sokostina who actually gave me this opportunity for NRTV, whereby I had no cooking show ever. And she was just like, would you like a cooking show on NRTV that's going to be on DSTV? And I was just like, yeah, I can do that. But then it's going to be kind of wobbly because I'm not used to cooking in front of the camera, and it's going to be very awkward. But if you guys insist, okay, fine, let's do this. And we did 3 amazing seasons, and it was quite an honor. Yes.
Is there a difference, or explain to us the difference between cooking privately in your kitchen and cooking in front of an audience or a camera, rather? Yeah.
Well, so when you're cooking privately in the kitchen, you're more comfortable because you can make your mistakes and do whatever you want. Now, when you're cooking in front of the camera, you're aware that you're cooking for people that you're probably not going to see. But then there's a guy who's filming, who's watching you, who's just staring at you like this, not even blinking, and making you feel so nervous that I kind of now had to train myself to pretend as if people are not in the room anymore. So like right now in this room, it's just me and
you and I.
So just literally pretend that people are not there. And then also, after when they say cut, go to the person who has had their eyes on you 24/7 and be like, is there anything I can improve? Is there anything that you saw that can change? Constructive criticism. So it's been a learning curve. Yeah.
Wow, what a journey. So you have spent some time in New York. You're in New York at a very early age.
Yes.
Talk to me about, and then you came back. Talk to us about that part of your life.
So my mom was a diplomat at that time. So she worked for the Zimbabwean mission in New York, and she moved single mom. She raised us as a single mom. So I have an older sister and a twin brother. So she moved us to New York when I was 3. Then we came back when I was about 12, and then my sister was about 16. New York was the foundation for me for everything. Especially for food, because you can't go down the block. Even, for example, you can go down one block and have pizza shops, but then they all taste different. And then they all have clients, and it's metropolitan, the cuisine, the people. It's a city that doesn't sleep. And it's also motivated me to become this business person. So New York was an amazing experience for me, much needed. And so grateful for my mom, because she could have just left us Kumusha and we were raised here, and she could have just done her thing. And then when I moved back to Zim, it was a serious culture shock that I had to get used to. But then I'm glad that I came back, because in New York, I wasn't really learning my culture. One thing that my mom did was that when she raised us, even if we were speaking English or anything, she always spoke to us in our mother tongue, Shona. So when we moved back here, it wasn't so hard for me to kind of get used to things, but then I lost a lot of traditional upbringings that I wish I would have had. But it was still a blessing.
Talk to me about that culture shock.
Culture shock. Food. I remember the first time from coming from a McDonald's chip and tasting a Nando's chip. That's a culture shock. It was like, what is this? What are we doing? I felt like crying. Food-wise, was the flavors were different. Communication, especially at school. You're coming from a place where they speak to you slowly, or they give you support if you don't know something, and then you come to what's 5 times 5 and you don't know it and they're hitting you. It's just like, whoa, is this legal? So, but I survived.
You survived it, and there you are.
Yeah.
So let's go back. Let's go to that place where you working with the Rangers. Talk to us about that project. How did it start? Your involvement in the role in that.
Such a funny story. So the Akashinga Rangers are run by this amazing man, Australian man named Damian Mandler. So a couple of journalists went to Damian's camp with the Akashinga Rangers. And the journalist was just like, don't you know the vegan chef in Zimbabwe, Chef Cola? And Damien was just like, no, there's no vegan chefs in Zimbabwe. And then he Googled me. And at that time, I was sitting minding my own business in Cape Town. And he was just like, I really need you to come and see my camp. And I was just like, I'm in Cape Town. He flew me out. And when I got to the camp, it was literally a culture shock again. I hadn't really worked in rural areas, but in the bush, Musango. And that was, it was a culture shock. So we made an agreement whereby I really loved what he was doing, because the Akashinga Rangers are the world's only armed female vegan rangers to date. So my job, I realized that it was going to be a heavy task. So at that time, there was about 1,000 rangers. So I had to train 8 chefs how to cook vegan meals. And then also make sure that breakfast, lunch, and dinner, there's always food on camp. And then also these are rangers. So they do extended patrols 2 weeks in the bush in the middle of nowhere. So making sure that they have enough food when they do the extended patrols. So my job was project management, sourcing food, running the garden, community development. And I worked there for about 3 to 4 years. And then once I had the confidence to be like, the 8 chefs that I've trained, they can now run the job, because one camp can have 1,000 rangers. They can have like about 8 camps. And every chef must know how to do their job. And most of the chefs that I picked, for example, the head chef who took my position, her name is Chef Judith. We actually found her selling hot chips for truck drivers in the middle of the night. So she was selling hot chips and we stopped, and I liked her chips. So I was just like, do you want to come and cook? And she was just like, are you serious? And now she's the head chef for the
You
Akashinga.
opened the door for her.
Opened the door, and she's recently just graduated, went to culinary school at Chinua University, and she's now looking into going to train in Dubai. So as a vegan chef, so opening the door. So with the Akashinga Rangers, it was a learning experience that I really enjoy, and I'm so proud of them that they still continue to do what they do.
And what are they doing? I mean, is this conservancy of some sort? Talk to me about what they're doing.
So basically, anti-poaching, protecting the animals, and they have concessions that they protect. And then within those concessions, besides that, also making sure that there's less anti-poaching activity. They're building schools, they're building nursing homes, community development, gardens, and also just not building the gardens and giving people seeds and saying you can come and take whenever you want. Making sure that people learn how to create businesses using these little gardens. So amazing work.
Yeah. You've indicated to us clearly your love for your mom and what she's done. Talk to me about what, the lessons that your mom has handed down to you. Single mother, single parent rather?
Single parent. Wow. One of the best lessons that she has taught me is fail forward, honestly. Because she's one of those people where no matter how things got tough, she always made a plan. There was always food. There was always school fees. There was always direction. I wouldn't be this solid person if it wasn't for her. So failing forward, not giving up, and taking lessons from her father, my grandfather. He always had these things like, I don't like people who lie. I don't like lazy people. And I don't like people who cheat. So she brought those lessons onto me.
Those are amazing values, isn't it?
Those
amazing
are values,
principles.
So even when our grandfather passed away about 2 years ago, on his T-shirts, those are the things that when we had the memorials, and that we still remind each other, like, no, we don't do that here. So Yeah.
Wow. You've gone into designing chef jackets and that kind of stuff. Talk to me about where that comes from and where the business is right now.
Thank you. So I come from a very creative family. My twin brother is a graphic designer. My sister is a fashion designer, and I'm a chef. And my mom, while she was in the States, she was also studying fashion design and interior design. So sewing and clothes has always been...
What's your mom's name?
Patricia.
Patricia Kagoro.
Patricia Kagoro. That's her married name. Yeah. And then her going back maiden name. Patricia Parwada.
Okay.
So she always used to sew. So that's gone into my blood. So when I was in Form 4, we were given subject choices. So you had architecture, art, fashion fabrics, etc. And they just forced all the girls to get into fashion and fabrics. So that's where I was going. I really wanted to do architecture and all of that. And then I remember failing dismally in fashion and fabrics. Like I couldn't sew, I couldn't do anything, but I always had a passion for just looking different and being unique. So when I decided to become a private chef, I didn't want to always wear the black jacket, the white jacket. It's so boring. So I came up with my own line of chef jackets that are African inspired and have African prints. And then we've been selling them globally throughout the world. I think our first client was actually from Paris. Saw it on social media. They were like, do you deliver globally? At that point, I didn't even know how it was going to happen. I just walked into the post office. I was just like, can this get into Paris? How much? Let's go. And that's how the business has grown. Yeah.
Wow. So you're doing all these things, and clearly your mom has been a big influence. The cooking too, that's your mom.
Yeah. My mom was so busy that it was either takeaway or she gave me, I remember when I was about 10 years old, that's when she gave me my first cooking lesson, basically. And after that, it was kind of cooking came naturally to me. So that with that one cooking lesson and watching her over the years, stealing with my eyes has always been a thing. I just started cooking for the family. So even growing up, it was always me who would make sure the dishes are done, make sure that my twin brother is even okay, that he ate. I was such a nurturer. So that comes from my mom and the cooking. Yeah.
Fantastic. We're going to take another break here. Please don't go away. When we come back, we're going to drill further into, you've got pop-up vegan restaurants.
Yes.
We want to go for us to go there and see what you do in these pop-up vegan restaurants. And then, of course, the book section. So at home, please don't go away. Join us after this short break.
I used to charge about $2 for people to come, and people would be like, no, there's no meat here. We're not coming to your dinner because meat equals wealth.
Welcome back to our conversation with Nicola Kagoro, otherwise known as Chef Cola. So, Chef Cola, one thing that I have noticed is that you've got a number of pop-up vegan restaurants, including Food
X Art.
Food X Art.
Yes.
I mean, it's such a tough title for some of us. Talk to us about the concept around vegan pop-up restaurants and Food X Art.
All right. So the pop-up started when the first pop-up was Dinner with Chef Cola. That's when I had moved from Cape Town to Zim, and I was trying to highlight my brand. So Dinners with Chef Cola, I used to charge about $2 for people to come, and people would be like, no, there's no meat here. We're not coming to your dinner because meat equals wealth. And then it was a mess until fast forward, CNN flew out, and then they came to film a Dinner with Chef Cola in Zimbabwe. And then BBC also came to film a Dinner with Chef Cola in South Africa, that people started coming to these pop-ups because, people like things.
So it took BBC and CNN.
Imagine. So
we're messed up.
We're messed up. That was really cruel.
Yeah.
So people started coming and enjoying, and I realized that this is something that I actually really enjoy doing. So the dinners with Chef Cola pop-ups, they're still happening. I do special ones a couple of times throughout the year. And then I started a new concept called Food X Art, whereby I go into spaces, and whether you have a kitchen, I don't care. I literally plug my gas stove in the middle of the spot and I cook live in front of people. So people can come up and walk up to me and ask me about the ingredients, about veganism, anything. And then the X part is just showcasing, highlighting anything to do with art. So for example, our last pop-up, we had this girl from Germany who makes jewelry. So she was going around teaching people how to make individual jewelry pieces. And the pop-ups have been quite amazing. And one thing that I've noticed about the pop-ups is that 99% of the people who attend are actually not vegan. So it's actually a way for me to showcase my cuisine to a different demographic. Yeah.
Do you survive on pop-up events, pop-up restaurants, or you've got a daytime job?
Definitely can't survive on a pop-up event because it costs money to run events. So my day job is that I work for ProVeg International. It's a vegan-based international company, and I run the region of Africa. So what we do is that we look for people who have vegan projects. So whether you have, for example, this guy who just did a food tour in Mashingo, that's an idea of a project, and we fund you $5,000 to $50,000. So my job is to look for people who are doing vegan things. So if you have a vegan brand, a vegan clothing line, vegan anything, I just facilitate looking at different projects. On top of that, I do other admin work, but then that's my day job, ProVeg International.
Yeah. You used to be a DJ. Are you still a DJ?
God.
You didn't think I would find that out, eh?
Man, don't ask me what my DJ name was.
What was the DJ name? We got to tell people that you used to be a DJ.
Man.
Yeah, what was your DJ name?
My DJ name was DJ Steeble.
Okay.
And the reason why is because my brother was into drawing, so he's into anime. So he created his own anime character for me, which was Steeble. And I love DJing so much, but then I just couldn't see myself. We would stand for 8 hours, and the money that I'd get back, I'll be like, okay, transport. That's already half of it done. And then you're out the whole night, and at the time I was staying with my mom, and my mom would be like, no, you're working, right? So the other half goes to your mom, and you end up saying, why did I just stand 8 hours for nothing? So music it's still a part of me. I love it, but then, yeah, DJ Steeble has retired, guys. Yes.
Officially retired.
Officially retired. You'd have to pay me a pretty penny for me to DJ
but
for you.
Do you enjoy DJing still?
I love DJing. I love music. I have such a musical ear. Most of my good friends are actually musicians. So we go back and forth on music and things like that. Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
So, I mean, would this be something that you could fall back on?
Music? No.
No.
No. Have you seen when I was a DJ, it was the competition wasn't that stiff. Like I used to look up to this lady called DJ Zinchler. Now we have people like Uncle Waffles. I don't see myself doing all of that.
You can't pick your game up to them?
Nah, man. Just I've retired, can't keep up with these young kids anymore.
What's the big thing for you right now? What's the big thing that you're striving for? What's the big picture thing that you're striving for right now?
In terms of my chefing career?
Yeah, your chefing career.
I want my own piece of land so that I can build my restaurant. Because the number one question people are always asking me, when is the restaurant coming? And I want to be comfortable whereby I don't want to build my restaurant on someone's piece of land and then they take me away and then keep my concept. So ownership is very key in everything, whether it's your brand, your recipes, everything, ownership. So that's something that I'm working on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Build your own restaurant.
Build my own restaurant.
Where do you have an idea where you would want this restaurant to be?
Definitely. So in Zimbabwe, we have this spot called the Art Farm. Mm-hmm. I want like an urban farm like that.
Okay.
So we're still in the CBD, but then we're still out in the middle of nowhere, and making sure that it's peaceful, so that it can be open probably even once a year during like the holiday time. And you know that you've got an international award vegan chef, you've got amazing facilities, and I'm manifesting it. It's going to happen. Yeah.
You failed before. Mm-hmm. What failure has humbled you, and what have you learned from that failure?
That's a good question. I think one of my biggest failures, I have to go back to Battle of the Chefs, whereby I really thought I was going to win that 10,000. And at that point, I thought $10,000 was something. And Joseph Bunga, the executive producer, he actually called me in and he was just like, with your passion and everything, one thing I've noticed about you is that you always fail forward. So even if, let's say, this interview right now, you've interviewed presidents and amazing people who can articulate themselves better. But then this has been, when I say failing forward, is that when I hopefully sit down with you again, you'll see the growth. And I look back at this and be like, no, I could have done this and this. So I always make sure that I fail forward no matter what.
You always learn from your failures.
Yeah.
Where were you born? I mean, which part of the country were you born?
Avenues Hospital. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Right around the corner.
Right around the corner. Yeah. So my mom is she's in Ndebele, and then my dad is actually Zambian. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he's a businessman. Mm-hmm. So that's where I get it from.
And what do you get? What influences your father had on you?
He's a serial business entrepreneur. He has built banks in many across Africa. Mm-hmm. So just money. That's the influence that I get, the love of money. Yeah. That's what I take from him. Yeah.
And which schools did you attend in Harare and then New York? Which schools did you go to?
In New York, we went to a public school called PS 183. So we stayed in the heart of Manhattan. And then when I came back here, the culture shock with the wooden spoons, Blackiston, that was crazy. And then I attended Westridge High School. Mm-hmm. And then just for about a year or two, I attended this college called Spaces.
Spaces College.
Spaces College.
Would you go back to live in New York?
Definitely.
You would?
Definitely I would.
Why?
The energy. Mm-hmm. It's the city that doesn't sleep. Whether you're whatever age, there's always a heartbeat. Mm-hmm. There's always a reason to want to live. Mm-hmm. In certain areas of the world, you wake up and be like, man, I'm so depressed to be here. I don't want to be here. Not to say there's no hardships in New York City, but then people are always, on this grind. Mm-hmm. And that's something that is still within me, will never go away. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is depression an issue with you?
Depression? Mm-hmm. Good question. Why?
You mentioned it.
Did I?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I think depression is an issue with everyone in life because as we get older, when you start taking care of yourself or it's taking care of people who are taking care of you, things get hard. But then it's the way you handle it. Yeah. And I handled it by having amazing conversations with God. Yeah.
I've been depressed before.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of us, particularly Black people, have a problem with admitting that they've been depressed. Mm-hmm. And as a result, terrible things happen because we don't own up to our depression and to seek the treatment. Yeah. So when you drop the word depression, I thought we should go there.
Yeah.
And there's nothing to be embarrassed about depression. It's a condition that we don't create. It happens to us. Yeah. But we've got ways of dealing with it.
Yeah.
So you're working on a documentary showcasing your career as a vegan chef. To talk to me about that.
Right. So with this documentary, I realized that a lot of people know of me as Chef Cola, like they go on social media or they've heard about me, but then they actually don't know like who I am when I wake up, the hardships, what I go through behind the scenes, or even the positive things. So this documentary is going to be about 8 to 12 minutes. We're going to put it on YouTube and hopefully also get it screened in festivals, etc. There's not a lot of chefs who have documentaries. There's not a lot of chefs who show you the behind the scenes. So this is something that I'm hoping that's going to have a positive impact. Yeah.
What message do you want people to take away from the documentary?
That's a good question. The message is that it's not easy running a brand. And you have to work hard. Some days it's going to get hard. Some days you're going to get some disappointing news. Some days you're going to feel like you're untouchable. Like, yo, I'm amazing.
Cloud 99.
Cloud 99. I'm Superman. But then I want people to realize that
you're human.
I'm human. This is reality. And yeah, get to know me a little bit better. Yeah.
Talk to me. I hear from behind what you're saying that it's tough. We've talked about depression already. Where do you go to during those tough moments? What uplifts you from those tough moments?
During those tough moments, besides God, something physical is very important to watch the people that you allow access to you. So this means your friends, your family, your partners. You have to be very mindful who you're allowing access to. So I like to keep a small circle of friends and confidants who can't stray me the wrong way. So most of these people, when I say confidence, obviously my mom, people within her age group, people who can give me advice, my peers who are probably not within the same industry as me, so can give me advice through a different pivot. But just one thing that I do to protect myself is to keep my circle very small and don't allow everything and anyone to have access to you, because that's when little things that are unnecessary start filtering in. And for me, it's about energy. So the energy needs to make sense.
What I've found out, what works for me with depression is knowing myself, knowing who I am. And as a result, when I know myself as I do, there's things that I know will trigger that kind of space. So know myself. Praying has helped quite a lot.
Yes.
Meditation has grounded me quite a lot. Does any of that make sense to you?
Praying, meditation, a balanced diet, because your stomach and your mind are married. Yeah. They are connected. Yeah. So if one is not working, the other one is not working. So you have to keep it balanced. And also another important thing, removing the stigma that therapy is for crazy people. Therapy is actually for sane people. It's actually advisable. And speaking to people, just delving into certain things, there's no shame. And just like when
I love this. I love this. I'm a big believer in therapy.
And crying.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Crying. I cried a lot this morning.
Yeah.
I have a therapist that I consult from time to time. That's to me, that's important. Yeah. Is that important for you?
Definitely removing these stigmas, speaking to therapists. Crying is a way of releasing energy. It's a way of cleansing. It's a way of talking to God. So you have to maintain those things, and also healthy diet. If you eat a piece of bread and when you wake up in the morning, and then the next time you eat is at dinner time, and then you wonder, why am I so angry? Why are things not moving for me? It's because you're not taking care of yourself. And then you start blaming other things, like, no, it's because of this, and the other. And you're like, no.
It's yourself.
It's yourself.
Yeah. Let's go to something beautiful. After talking about depression, you have done collaborations with embassies, the German embassy, the Spanish embassy, and the French embassy. Talk to me about what happens there.
Okay, so with these embassies, they also have pop-ups, and they just like literally falling into my lap. So I'll be walking, minding my own business, and like, oh no, I work for the French embassy. I'm doing this event. Would you like to come and showcase your cuisine? okay, I wouldn't mind coming in, but my one condition when you invite me is that no other food vendor can be there, because you'll get a food vendor selling meat, and then there's me, and then it's just a conflict of interest. So if I'm the only food vendor, I will come in and I'll highlight my cuisines. And it's been amazing because now I'm building relationships with these embassies. I want to hit all of the embassies and showcase the cuisines.
We are launching with effect from this week, the Trevor Book Club. We're going to create a WhatsApp group. We're going to share a link on social media, even under this video, for you to click and join the WhatsApp group for the book club. We're going to be sharing books that we are reading. We're going to be discussing books that we're reading, and we're hoping that this platform is going to grow into something even bigger. To start off with, I'm currently reading this amazing book. It's a book written by London School of Economics professor who is Chinese, Ku Jin. She's Chinese, but she understands the West in a big way. She's been lecturing at Oxford and Cambridge. She's worked in New York. It's the first book written by a Chinese about China, and it has helped me understand what China is all about, rather than reading Western newspaper, reading books written by Western journalists and Western authors. The New China Playbook, Beyond Socialism and Capitalism, is an essential read if you want to understand China from a Chinese perspective. What books have you read that you'd want to share with our viewers out there, book-loving viewers?
Book-loving viewers. Okay, so I have my top 3 books off of the top of my head. Obviously, the Bible. Lessons that there's no problem underneath the sun that you can't find a solution for in the Bible. Second book was one that my mom has given me since I was about 14, by Richard Clarkson, if I'm not mistaken. And it's entitled Don't Sweat the Small Stuff, and it's all small stuff. so I used to be...
the good one?
It's a good one. I used to be a bit of a firecracker when I was a little kid, so my mom always used to try to calm me down, and she was like, don't sweat the small stuff. The third book that I'm writing is my own cookbook. This has been a 2-year journey. Honestly, it's been ups and downs with trying to figure out how to write a book and getting the right people proofreading. And it's taken me 2 years and I'm still figuring it out. That's why I decided to do the documentary before. So I'm writing my first cookbook. And so far I've accumulated about 300 recipes. So each year when I fail not to produce the cookbook, the positive thing is that I end up having about a couple of more recipes to add onto the cookbook. So hopefully next year, 2025, I'll finally release the cookbook.
We're looking forward to that. We're looking forward to that. Chef Nicola, it's been a privilege chatting to you.
Thank you.
I love talking to creative people like you. People do stuff and create things. So we're going to be praying for you to get this piece of land. Looking forward to seeing the chain of vegan restaurant. What are you going to call your restaurant? We haven't gotten there.
Well, here's a funny thing. On my mom's side, my great-grandfather, his name was Kafkatema, Little Black Soil. So along those lines, that's where I'm going to call it. Anything to do with Kavu, because sometimes you won't be able to find me on social media.
So it's
Kavukatema.
Kavukatema.
Little Black Soil.
That's a nice one.
And I'm a little one.
That's a nice one.
It has to be Shona-inspired, African-inspired, so I'm probably going to run and register my name right now.
Absolutely. Chef Kola, thank you so much for coming onto the show.
This was nice.
Looking forward to your Amazon Prime series that's coming up. We're looking forward to your book and hoping one day to sit and sample your vegan food.
Definitely.
So thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Allow me to turn over now and address myself to our viewers. Thank you so much for your support. Remember, we are a weekly show. We are out on Mondays, every Monday, 7 a.m. Central African Time on YouTube. Let me also remind you, we are now sitting on 9.1 million views. We're sitting on 61,000 plus subscribers. Please join our community of viewers. Click on the subscribe button, click on the alert button, share our content. We've gone a step further, by the way. We've created a website where all our content sits for your viewing and listening pleasure. Keep the comments coming under this video. See what people are saying about this conversation. Share yours, share your suggestions. Until next time, cheers to you all.